on the parking lot. The man grabbed the collar of his thick, rawhide sheepskin coat. Holding Danny in his left arm, Cade jammed his right elbow back, hoping to dislodge the guy's grip. When that didn't work, he jutted sideways, crossing an icy patch of ground, hoping to catch the man off guard and causing him to fall. The thug cursed when his foot slipped, and he lost his grip on the rawhide coat. "Danny!" Melissa's voice was raw with anguish. "Stop! Police!" Another female voice reached his ears. The masked man abruptly shoved Cade forward. Now it was his turn to be caught off balance, his booted feet slipping on the snowy ground. When he felt himself falling, he twisted his body so that he fell on his right side to protect Danny. He struggled to sit up as a woman dressed in gray slacks and a puffy black coat, accompanied by a black dog, ran toward him. Cade turned to look for the masked man in time to see him brutally shove Melissa into the open door of a dark van. Melissa screamed, but then there was only silence as the assailant jumped in behind her and slammed the door. Whoever was driving took off. "No!" Cade struggled to his feet. "Melissa!" He spun toward the female officer. "He kidnapped my sister!" The woman was already sprinting after the van, her black lab easily keeping pace beside her. The dog was wearing a canine vest, indicating they were a team. But despite her willingness to jump toward danger, her efforts were of no use. She couldn't catch the vehicle. Tires squealing, the van sped away, leaving the female officer and her canine partner behind. Danny began to cry, as if sensing the danger. Or maybe from the way Cade had hit the ground, taking the brunt of the fall on his right shoulder, which throbbed painfully. As he attempted to soothe the boy, Cade grappled with the realization that his sister had been kidnapped right in front of his eyes. And just as concerning was knowing that his 1-month-old nephew was in danger too. Rookie canine officer Ashley Hanson stared at the back of the black van as it sped down the street. The license plate was covered in mud, making it impossible to get a number. She thought it might be an older model Chevy minivan, but couldn't be certain in the dim light. Turning, she ran to where the tall man wearing a knee-length brown rawhide coat and brown Stetson stood holding a baby to his chest. The infant was dressed in a bright blue snowsuit and a pale blue hat to protect him from the cold March temperatures. Spring rarely came early to the Wyoming mountains. "What's going on here?" She raked her gaze over him, wondering if the baby was his and if this was some sort of custody dispute.
"I believe the guy in the ski mask tried to kidnap Danny, but when you arrived, he took my sister Melissa instead. Danny's mother."
When she still looked a bit confused, he added,
"Danny is my nephew."
"Who's his father?"
"A guy named Vincent Orr. He moved out of state because he didn't want anything to do with being a father."
The cowboy waved an impatient hand.
"It could be he changed his mind and wanted to be involved, but then why go the kidnapping route? As the boy's father, he would have some visitation rights. No need to resort to drastic measures."
Ashley reached for the radio on her collar. There hadn't been time to call for backup, something she feared her boss would rag on her about, so she quickly did so now. "This is Officer Hanson requesting backup at the Elk Valley Park. A woman has been kidnapped and a baby was targeted too." "Roger that." The dispatcher's voice sounded calm, even though kidnappings were a rare occurrence. Then again, they usually didn't have unsolved homicides either.
"You need to get cops on the road to search for that van."
The tall, dark-haired man's curt tone interrupted her thoughts. His green eyes pinned her with a narrow look.
"Now!"
Ashley understood his concern, but she also needed more information. "What is your name?"
"Cade McNeal."
His voice hitched a bit as he looked down at the infant in his arms. She had seen the man in the ski mask latch onto the collar of Cade's rawhide coat, then shove him to the ground. She had been walking her canine partner, Ozzy, having just left a brief introductory meeting held at the